Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a truly invisible intruder. We're talking about a microscopic single-celled parasite that was born in the Amazon rainforest but has become a bit of a world traveler. It has this incredibly complex life and a pretty significant and often hidden impact on human health. So let's get ready to unmask Leishmania amazonensis.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get to know this invisible intruder. Then, we'll track its surprisingly wide global footprint. After that, we'll untangle its really devious life cycle, see the battle it wages inside our bodies, and finally, we'll look at how we fight back and what the future holds.
All right, Section 1, the invisible intruder. First things first, we need to get a really clear picture of what we're actually dealing with here.
So let's just start with the most basic question of all. When we say Leishmania amazonensis, what kind of organism are we even talking about?
Okay, so it's a protozoan, which is really just a sciencey way of saying it's a single-celled organism. But the key phrase here is obligate intracellular parasite. Let's just unpack that. Obligate means it has to, it has no choice. And intracellular means inside a cell. So basically, this parasite is completely dependent. It literally cannot survive unless it finds a home inside the cells of a host. And that's exactly why it's developed this two-host system to get from one safe house to the next.
Now, I know this chart looks a bit like a biology textbook, but check out this line right here, the class Kinetoplastea. This is actually super interesting. Organisms in this group have this really unique feature inside their mitochondria. You know, the cell's power plants. It's this tightly packed bundle of DNA called a kinetoplast. And this isn't just some random biological fact. This unique structure is basically the parasite's Achilles heel. It gives us a perfect target for drugs that can shut the parasite down without harming our own cells.
So let's move on. How does a parasite that starts its life in the Amazon end up becoming a real concern for doctors thousands of miles away in a city like Amsterdam?
Well, this is what's known as a New World species. Its home turf is the tropical rainforests of the Americas. And the transmission is zoonotic, which just means it's an animal disease that can accidentally spill over into humans. The parasite is perfectly happy just circulating in wildlife like rodents and sloths. We just happen to get in the way of its cycle.
And here's the thing. While the Netherlands is obviously way too cold for the sandfly that carries it to survive, global travel changes the entire equation. It becomes what's called an importziekte, or an imported disease. And get this, between 2005 and 2012, labs in the Netherlands confirmed 195 cases, a lot of them from travelers or migrants coming from areas where this parasite is common, like Suriname.
Now we get to the really fascinating part. To survive, Leishmania amazonensis has this incredibly devious two-host strategy. It has to completely change its shape and function to live in two totally different worlds.
And this diagram just lays it all out perfectly. Think of it like a play in two acts. On the left, you've got the parasite's life inside the sandfly. And on the right, you see what happens once it gets into a mammal, like us. This whole intricate cycle is kicked off by the bite of one tiny insect, the female sandfly. Let's take a closer look at each act.
So inside the insect's gut, the parasite goes through this radical transformation. The little motionless forms it picked up from a mammal grow a tail, a flagellum, and become these mobile swimmers. They multiply like crazy, and then they all migrate up to the sandfly's mouthparts, basically just waiting for the next meal.
Okay, once it's been injected into your skin, the parasite does something that is just absolutely brilliant. It doesn't run away from your immune system, it runs toward it. It basically lets itself get eaten by a macrophage, one of the very cells that's supposed to destroy invaders. But instead of being digested, it changes form again and turns that macrophage into its own personal nursery, multiplying and multiplying until the poor cell just bursts open, releasing more parasites to infect other cells.
And here you can see those two different forms, side by side. On the left, you've got those long, slender swimmers with the tails. That's what you'd find in the sandfly. And then on the right, if you look really closely, you can see all those tiny little dots packed inside the host cells. Those are the small, round forms that multiply inside our tissues.
So what happens when this whole devious cycle plays out inside a person? Let's dive into the consequences, because the outcome of this battle really all comes down to how our immune system decides to react.
This right here is the most common result. Right at the spot where the sandfly bit you, a skin lesion starts to form, and it often turns into this very distinct shape that looks kind of like a tiny volcano. It's got this raised, firm edge with a crater right in the middle. But what happens next all depends on that immune response.
You could think of your immune system as having two main strategies, a full-on frontal assault or a more subtle contain and control mission. In the most common form, the body gets that balance just right. But if the immune system goes into total hyperattack mode, it can cause these really destructive lesions that can eat away at the tissue in the nose and mouth. And then in the rarest form, the immune system basically just gives up. It becomes anergic or non-responsive, and that allows the parasite to spread all over the skin completely unchecked.
Okay, so let's move on. How does modern medicine actually find this tiny intruder, and more importantly, how do we fight back against it?
Well, the classic way was for a doctor to take a tiny tissue sample, stain it, and then literally hunt for those little parasites under a microscope. But today, the modern standard is PCR. It's way more sensitive. It can find the parasite's DNA even when there are very few of them. And crucially, PCR can tell you exactly which species of Leishmania you're dealing with.
And knowing the exact species is absolutely critical because it tells doctors which treatment to use. For decades, the international standard has been these drugs that contain the heavy metal antimony. And they work, but they can also be pretty toxic. That's why guidelines in places like the Netherlands now push for newer, safer options. And this is especially important for the New World species like Leishmania amazonensis because they have a higher risk of spreading and really require a more reliable, aggressive treatment plan.
So finally, what does the future hold in our fight with Leishmania amazonensis? Let's take a quick look at where the science is headed. A lot of new research is digging into how these parasites release tiny molecular packages, almost like little messages in a bottle, to manipulate our immune cells.
Now, before we wrap this up, I just want to mention that all the information we've gone through today was compiled using a Gemini deep search. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and dive deeper, you can find a complete list of all our sources in the linked Notebook LM document.
And that leaves us with one final thought for you. In a world that's more connected than ever, parasites have become global travelers too. So how do we adapt our strategies to combat these invisible intruders that are hitching a ride with us across continents? We would love to hear what you think in the comments below. And hey, if you found this explainer interesting, please don't forget to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.